Hello, so let's make palazzo pants today. So the culprits, the normal culprits, you need scissors, curve ruler, and all that. And these are the measurements that we need: length, hip, waist, flap, and tie. So these are all my measurements. I'm going to start with hip because that's the largest part of your down area. So we divide that by 4, and I'm going to have a 10.25. Then you add 0.5 inch stitching allowance, then you add 2 inches. So 10.25 plus 2 inches plus 0.5 inch allowance for you to sew it together. So this is not the major allowance, this is just the joining allowance. So all of that will give me about a 12.75. So this will allow me know how much I need to fold my fabric. So I need to fold my fabric into 2, and I need it to be over 12.75 inches wide. So I folded my fabric into 2. So you know that 2 inches I added in that measurement, that's what I'm measuring now. You know, I did the hip divided by 4, then I added 2. So I'm taking that 2 inches now on the closed side. So on the closed side, take 2 inches because the trouser is going to have a band. The band is going to be 2 inches wide, so I'm going to leave 2 inches at the top. My flap, according to that measurement, is 12, but I'm doing it 12.5 because you need that 5 inches to stitch the band to the main trouser. So that's why I'm taking 12.5 at this point, and I have 2 for my band on top, right? And so I've taken from side to 2, from the side 2 inches, and then for the length I've taken the flap for 12 inches, but I left 2 inches for my band on top. So I'm just connecting all these points to create a rectangle, right? So the shorter side of the rectangle is 2 inches, and then the longer side is determined by the flap of your client or of your own flap if you are making it for yourself. So normally you can use a curved ruler to create a curve here, but I usually prefer using my free hand. I just feel like it makes my curve better. So I use my free hand to create a curve around this part. So this is like the flap for the trouser. This is the part that goes under, but this is the front part of the trouser. So you start by cutting the front. So now that's it for flap. Flap is done. The next measurement you want to apply to your fabric is waist measurement. So my waist is 28. We are going to divide 28 by 4. So that's it. So 28 divided by 4 is 7. So I need to apply my waist measurement. I'm going to start from that line. So taking my waist down to 7, I will mark 7. Then I need 0.5 inches to join. So I'm going to take that 0.5 inch after the 7. So that makes it 7.5. Then I want to do a 2 inches allowance generally. So I want to use 2 inches for my allowance space generally. So that made it 7.5 plus 2, that's 9.5. Then what I'm taking here is the hip. I'm going to start my hip point at 8. So I measured from beginning to that point 8, and I marked it. Then my hip is 41. 41 divided by 4 is 10.25. So I'm going to take 10.25 on that line, that number 8 line. So 10.25, I mark that. I mark the 0.5, then I mark the 2 inches general allowance I'm using, and I connect those points. So because it's palazzo, from the hip you can just go straight down. So this is where you determine how wide you want the pants to be. So from my hip, I'm just taking my line straight down. So from my hip is open, but from the hip, some people might want it to be a little bit penciled. So this is where you make all of that magic happen. So I shaped mine, and I came in at the bottom a bit. You can see the slant, so I just slanted it a bit. So now you want to also, and I'm trying to create a curve there so that there's no sharp edge that looks like an ear. So another thing is your tie. My tie measurement is 24. Divided by 2 is going to give you 12. So let's check. So you need to apply that tie. I know I'm normally using 2 inches allowance generally. So that would make my tie 14. I'm not adding that 0.5 here because I don't need to join it. Where I'm joining is just that place where we created the curve. So that's where I needed to join. So that's why I was adding 0.5. So I'm just going to connect my tie to the hip line. Just try to make it a bit regular. Then connect it to that general line I did. Then I'm going to cut it out. So once I cut it out, the next part is to cut the curved area. So I'll just cut out the curved area. Then we're also going to be applying a dart here. And so now I can open this part of the pants, and the closed part I can open it. That separates the two sides. So this is left and right, and this is for the front. I will apply 0.5 inches at the top here, and so I'm just going to mark that. Then on the other side, I'm going to take my dart measurement. I get my dart measurement from nipple to nipple measurement, and that's 4 and that's 8 divided by 2, that's 4. But I need 5 inches to stitch that part together, so that's why I'm taking 4.5. So I'm going to connect that point in a slanted line. Yeah, so it's just going to go from the 0.5 to the tip of the 4.5 dart line. Right, but I'm not going to cut it out yet because I need the front pattern to be able to cut out my back pattern. So this is the front pattern. Now I'm just going to fold the remaining fabric so I can get my back pattern. So this is the fabric folded into 2. I'm going to separate the front and take one side. One side is enough for me to cut out the back. So just so that it's clearer for you to see, let me turn the fabric to the wrong side so that you can see the contrast between both fabric. So basically you need the front to mirror the back, but you see how I'm leaving this large amount of space by the curved area, because this is the back, because that's where your butt would sit, so it needs to be longer than the front. So I come out by about 2.5 inches when I'm cutting the back. But if the person has a very big butt, you want to come out by 3 inches. Want to come up by about 3 inches, but 2.5 inches is okay for me. So I put the 2.5 there to make sure that my front pattern is placed correctly. So it needs to be placed 2.5 inches away, like maintain that space. So if it's not placed, just keep moving it until you get it. So this is just, I'm just trying to smoothen it out, then just connect the line, just extend that line, and it will take the same curve. So I'm just going to cut around that curve and then follow the new line. Then I would also separate from that midsection. So everything remains the same. The same measurement we applied from the front still applies now to this back part. So I'll just cut the same shape out. Then on the other side, some people, when they want the pants to be fitted, if you want the pants to be fitted, this is where you do all of the fitting. But this is Palazzo, so but some people, if you want it to be fitted, they will still come in a bit on this second line. So that's what I'm trying to demonstrate here. They will still come in a bit so that it's a bit slim, a bit slimmer. But if you want your Palazzo pants big, extra big, you don't have to go. You can just cut like what I'm doing now. You can just cut that. Right, but if you want it to be a bit fitted, then you can create a slant and keep reducing the slant as slim as you want the pants to be. So now that I've gotten the back, you see that the back is longer, so I'm just pointing where we are going to be sewing at the back area, and we are going to replace the front so that we can now take that dart that we drew earlier. So that dart is to create a curve around the waist, so that the waist is, it's just that extra detail. Do you get? It's just that extra detail that will make your work stand out. So we've taken out that 0.5 inch. So the next thing would be for us to cut so for the front, I'm just showing you how you're going to stitch it here. For the front, you are going to totally close this place. When you turn the fabric to the wrong side, because this is the front, turn it to the wrong side, and you sew from this part all the way down. That's how you sew it. So the next thing is for us to cut our band. That's the band that will stay at the waist, and that's the band we're leaving that 2 inches for. So I'm just trying to make my fabric straight here, just a random line to make my fabric straight. Then I'm going to measure for the band. So for the band, we left 2 inches, but when I'm cutting, I cut it about 5 or 4.5 inches. By the time I take out allowance, it will come back to that same 2 inches. So I'm taking 4.5 for this one. So I'm just taking it end to end. So I decided to turn it around. So I'm taking 4.5 end to end. Then there's also the waist measurement, because this band is sitting at the waist. The waist I'm working with is 28. So 28 is what I need, and this fabric is folded into two, so 28 by 2 is 14, but I'm going to add 2 inches to make it 16. Right, 2 inches is the general allowance I'm using, so I'll mark out that 16 up and down and connect it with my ruler. So once I've connected it, I'll apply my 4.5 on that line as well, and then create a straight line, and I'll cut out the band from it. So that's it. The band is ready. I just need to get gum stay or collar stay, so it helps give structure to the band. So even when you have been sitting for long, your band will not be folding, so that it's just firm, and it will help to snatch your waist. So it's a game changer. So I'm just ironing the stay to the band, and after ironing the stay to the band, I need to fold the band into two. Right, so when I fold it into two, that's when I now get that 2.5. Then when I add it to the trouser, I will now get that 2 on the spot. Right, so another thing you want to do, after folding it, you bend it into two, horizontally, and you bend it into two. You bend it into two horizontally and notch the middle section, just like I've done here. So you notch the middle part, so it will help you when you're sewing. So now let's come to the sewing machine. This is the back. The back is one that has the longer flap. So for the back, you're not sewing from top to bottom. You sew from like towards the curve, because that other part is where you're going to keep your zip. So just stitch from that place down, then you add a zip. I don't have that exact color of zipper. I'm just doing this to just show you the tutorial. So normally when you want to sew it, you should use the correct color. This is like a brown color, but what I have is yellow, but I just need to illustrate this for you. So you put the zip there. You see that I'm not sewing from the top because I need space to add the band. So you put the zip, and just you need to keep it in the middle of that line you just sewed exactly. So you put it in that line, you repeat the process for the other side as well. I'm also not sewing to the edge here because I need space to add the band. Right, that's the space I need to add the band. So the zip is in for the back part, so I need to join the front now. So I will turn this fabric to the wrong side, but I'm joining from top to the curve because this is the front. There's no zip that is staying anywhere. So I'll just join from top to the end of the curve. So the front is ready. So the next thing you want to do is locate under, like around the crotch, that curve. Look for the mid area, and just keep it. Then go to the back, look for that mid area under as well, and then match that mid area through that line to the front. So front and back, you match both mid areas like this, like what I'm doing. So that's for the back, and this for the front. So just match them together, but front and back. You just place them so that they are at the same spot, then you join like that. Then you repeat the process for the other leg from that same midpoint. So now after we've done that inner part, it's time to now shape the trouser. Remember we took 2 inches generally, so it's that 2 inches I need to guide me now that I'm trying to hold the sides. So I'm just going to go in with my tape again to confirm. But if you are doing this for the first time and you are not that hands-on on sewing it yet, you want to place it on the ground and draw all your lines before you come to the machine. But I'm pretty used to shaping it, so that's why I just put the 2 inches to help me create a mental note of it, and with that I can maintain my 2 inches all the way down. So that's what I'm just doing. But if you are not hands-on, please place your trouser on the floor. If you have pins, pin front and back together so that it's not shaking. Then you just mark your 2 2 2 2 and use a ruler to connect everything before you come to the machine. When you come to the machine, you'll be sewing on the lines that you drew, right? So with time, you get good at it and you will not need to always be ruling. So I'm going to repeat. I'm going to mark that 2 inches to guide me on the second part as well. So like this, the trouser is almost ready. The next part is to add the band. So we joined the front, and this, but that is back and this is front. So that mid area of that front, spread it. In fact, anywhere that has a joining that you have been doing around the crotch area, you should be spreading it. It helps it sit a lot better. Those are the extra details that count. So you spread it open, you keep that, then you go and get your band. Remember that mid part of the band that we notched, you place it on that exact line. So you now match it to the right side, facing right side, right? So you match it on the wrong side. So be careful to always align the band to the trouser carefully up until the zipper point. And then you go back and do the same for the other half. So that's why that zip we left on top is very crucial. So you're not sewing on top of your zip, right? So now that the band is fully in place, we can now put that zip across just like this. But before I do that, I like to do a quick cross-checking. So I'll just take my tape. I will measure around the band from end to end. I'll see how many inches I have. So that's what I'm trying to do. So from what I measured here, round end to end, I have 32. And the waist I'm working with is 28. So 32 minus 28 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means I need to take out 2, 2. So that means we're on point because we have been taking out 2, 2, which means our allowance is on point. So I'll just mark it 2 down and 2 on the other side as well. So that is where I will place my zip. So it will guide where I place my zip. So I'm not just placing my zip randomly on the band. So that's how I apply the waist measurement to the band. So I do that on one side and I repeat it for the other side. So the zip is now in place. So that extra that you have on top, don't worry, you just bend it in and just tack it down with your machine. So after tacking that part down, when you zip, you see that the zip is beautiful. So when you need to weave, you weave all these edges. After weaving, you can now bend it down and use your machine to just press it down so that it's very sleek. Okay. Then the next thing, you need to fold the bottom of the trouser. Then you need to iron. Your palazzo is ready. Your palazzo is ready for you to rock it. I mean, take a look at what we just created. So I hope that you can apply this, try it with your measurements, and rock it, send us a picture or something. But I think this is super easy. You can leave me your questions if you don't really understand any part.